Hello and welcome to Season 14, Episode 11 of the Ubuntu podcast. I'm Alan, it's Tuesday the 18th of May, and this week we're going to talk about community news and events and other news and whatever else comes across our desks. And by our, I mean myself and Martin. Hello, Martin.
Hello.
And Mark.
Hello, hello.
Oh, excellent to be speaking to you both again. What have you been up to, Martin?
I'm on a bit of a mechanical keyboard kick, so I have got another mechanical keyboard. This time it's a wireless mechanical keyboard and it's a 65% form factor.
Why?
I've got two desks, and on the desk behind me, I don't have a huge amount of space, so I wanted a decent mechanical keyboard that took up the least amount of space possible. And after doing a bit of research, I found that Asus have got a keyboard called the ROG Falchion.
Oh. Is that a misspelling of falcon, or is this just a made-up word that makes it easy for them to Google for it?
It could be a made-up word. I haven't researched the origins of the name, but the keyboard is very nice.
Is it? Has it arrived, has it? Is it any good?
Yes, it has. Yeah, I'm very happy with it. So 60% keyboards seem to be popular at the moment, but I don't like them because they don't actually have cursor keys, whereas a 65% keyboard does, and it also has things like page up, page down, home and end. Which I'm using all the time, so I wanted that. So it's ever so slightly bigger, but it's a decent mechanical keyboard. It's RGB to the max, but not that I use that. I'm, again, 100% B. The only downside is if you're a real mechanical keyboard aficionado, it's not standard keycap sizes for all of the keys, so you can't pull all the keycaps and replace them with an aftermarket set. But it's PBT keys and double shot with shine through. It's really very nice. I'm very happy with it.
Whatever that means. What about you, Mark? What have you been up to?
I have been playing new Pokemon Snap.
A Snap, you say?
Who made that? Was that you, Popey?
No, nothing to do with me.
This isn't Pokemon in a Snap. This is a game called Pokemon Snap. So it's there was a game many years ago on the Nintendo 64 called Pokemon Snap.
Oh.
And this is a new version for the Nintendo Switch.
Is this Snap with Pokemon card stroke characters?
No, the Snap refers to taking photos.
Oh.
So it's kind of like the mechanics of an on-rails shooter, except instead of shooting Pokemon, you're taking photos of them.
Ah, okay.
So you sit in a little pod and you go through an area, and there's various Pokemon around you, and you've got to take nice photos of them, and then you get them rated at the end, and you can do things to kind of prod them and get them to do interesting things. And it's just quite a nice, relaxing game to play, and, it's not too stressful, and it's not, you've not got things to worry about. You've not got guns and ammo and explosions. You're just having a bit of a relax and seeing some nice scenery.
And there are no roguelike elements?
There are no roguelike elements at all that I could think of.
Well, on that bombshell, let's get on with the show. Let's start with the community news and event, if there are any, leave you in suspense. First up in the community news, things are not well in the state of Freenode.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, for those who don't know, Freenode is an IRC network that has been around for a long time. I think before the start of Ubuntu.
Oh,
but
yeah.
Ubuntu uses Freenode for a bunch of Ubuntu IRC channels. Yes, IRC does still exist. And it seems there's a bit of a power struggle going on between the people who actually operate the IRC network on a day-to-day basis and the most recent financial benefactor for Freenode things. And it's a bit of a mess, and it is developing day by day. So by the time you listen to this, things may have changed, or the network may be shut down, or it might have changed name, or everyone's left. We just don't know.
I have always wondered that. You mentioned there the people that operate the IRC network. Who is that?
Well, they're people. They're volunteers.
Right.
And some people are benevolently donating servers, maybe at the place they work, or people they're associated with donate a server which is connected to the network, which spreads the load and ensures that when one server goes down, the network stays up with connections to other servers and so on. So yeah, it's a bunch of volunteers that have been around for a long time and have been looking after the network for a long time, and keeping the network running and keeping the services running, because there's services, the authentication stuff and the web host and all that kind of stuff. They've been keeping going for a long time. So it's mostly volunteer run. So
you mentioned a financial benefactor there, but they're not then employing people to maintain the network.
Well, that's the tricky part. A lot of this is some guesswork, because not everyone is talking publicly, and some people are talking too much publicly, and people are publishing private IRC conversations and publishing letters of resignation, some of which were later redacted or removed because it turns out they were hedging their bets and publishing, or all collectively members of staff writing their letters of resignation just in case the thing imploded, that they could all publish at the same time and say, look, we're all leaving en masse and we're going over here somewhere else and we're taking our services with us.
Right.
But yeah, a little while ago, there was an investor who is associated with a few other organizations, including Private Internet Access, the VPN. And they invested a bit in order to run events. There was a Freenode Live event that happened a couple of times, and there was a company set up around that. And there's been a bit of division, as is always the case when money enters into the game and sponsorship enters into the game. It can make things a little bit problematic, especially for volunteers who've been around for a long time, maybe get noses put out of joint, especially if someone tries to take control of the network. And it seems like that's what someone's tried to do. I'm not naming any names because you can find all this information out with a quick search, and it may well have changed by the time you hear this, but it's a little bit sad because Freenode's been around for a long time, and obviously there's fewer people on IRC now than there were in the past. But there are still, a number of projects that still use Freenode as their central place that they send developers to, and new developers and users as well. And that includes Ubuntu. Next up, on that note, Martin.
Yes, well, in more IRC news, our very own Mark has got an IRC debate going over on the Ubuntu discourse. So, Mark, you wrote a proposal for improving the Ubuntu membership application process, having recently gone through it. And that seemed to have spun out into a couple of conversations, one of which was dominated about the use of IRC and other messaging protocols.
Yes. So it was very much not my intention as part of this proposal to try and suggest that Ubuntu should move away from IRC. But I did make some comments that perhaps just saying, join this IRC channel on the Freenode network isn't very helpful to people who might not have used IRC before. And at the very least, if we're going to keep doing that, we should, add some more information, explain how to get someone on IRC and get their nickname registered and so on. However, it seems that there are other people in the community who do feel quite strongly that we shouldn't be using IRC anymore and there are better options out there. So that's been spun out into a conversation with various threads and various opinions. So I would suggest if anyone has strong feelings about this, go check out the thread on Ubuntu Discourse and let us know what you think.
I did notice, though, that you made good on the documentation effort, and you did update the documentation to explain what IRC was, how you register a nick, and how you join the appropriate channels for the membership process, rather than that single bullet point that was previously there.
Yes, and in fact, a lot of it was there already if you knew what you were looking for. There were links to a web IRC client which would join you straight into the channel, but no one had thought to tell you that was there, basically.
It's interesting because some of this dates back so far. The membership process has been join this IRC channel at a certain time in order to, because that was a thing that everyone used. Yeah. It was, you would already be on IRC, or it wasn't, you must download a client and connect to this thing that you weren't already aware of. You're already on it and in a channel, and you just type /join Ubuntu meeting.
And if you're not there, someone can ping you and say, can you hop over to Ubuntu meeting? You need to be there now. But I think maybe something which people who are used to things like WhatsApp and Telegram wouldn't appreciate is that if you're not there and connected, there's no way for someone to say, hey, we need you.
Yeah, I think we've realized that IRC is a little bit antiquated and old school now. And so maybe we do need to move on. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, we have a younger generation of contributors now that have grown up in a WhatsApp world. So, yes, it feels thoroughly prehistoric to them, I should imagine.
But it would be good if there is still... I mean, the good thing about IRC is it's an open and federated platform, right? Which something like WhatsApp isn't. So it would be good if there was a more modern alternative that still has that same advantage.
So internally, we used at Canonical Mattermost. We switched from IRC to Mattermost only recently. And pretty much soon after that, the suggestion came from a lot of people to the higher ups. We should do this for Ubuntu as well, so that, you know, the community has a more modern client for them to chat with. And I think that might happen if there's enough willing to do it and time and infrastructure to do it. Whether they'll switch to Mattermost or choose something else like Matrix, I don't know. But, you know, the fact that they use Mattermost internally makes sense to use Mattermost externally as well, really, to me. Next up, Mark.
Bitwarden RS is now Vault Warden.
Ooh. What was Bitwarden RS?
This is the alternative self-hosted Bitwarden password vault server. This is the one that I'm using to host my own password vault.
This is the one that's written in Rust, hence _RS.
Exactly.
Right.
However, it was pointed out to them by Bitwarden that the name is trademarked and this could be a cause for confusion. And I think they were already aware of that because it said in the documentation that people shouldn't report any bugs to do with Bitwarden RS to the upstream project, and they shouldn't go there for support, and they shouldn't go there and mention that they've got something going on using Bitwarden RS because it's not the same thing. So
yeah, it's not fair, is it?
Exactly. So I think this was amicable and timely that they basically just said, yeah, we'll change it.
I have to say, Mark, you tuned into the zeitgeist right on point with this, didn't you?
Hey, what can I say?
And so what happens if you've got a Bitwarden RS install? Does it just magically change name overnight?
I think it depends how you're running it, but basically, like all of the containers have been republished with the same version of the code, but under a new organization. So if you've got something set up to run the containers, you then just point them at the new containers and redeploy, and everything will keep working. The old containers are still there; they're just not current anymore. And I guess if you've done it differently, there's a slightly different update path, but it looks like it's fairly straightforward.
And you haven't done that yet?
I haven't done that yet, no, because I only found out about this yesterday and I had other things to do.
Well, we look forward to hearing about that in a later episode then, maybe.
How I lost my passwords.
Excellent. Finally, we have an event. What's our event?
Our event is FOSS Live 2021. This is an annual event that Joe Ressington organised that features some of your favourite Linux and open sourcey podcasts.
And us.
And us, yes. It usually takes place in London in a pub. Obviously, it didn't happen last year due to the event, but it's going to be an online event this year, and we're going to be streaming all of the shows on YouTube. And this year, the podcasts that are participating are Linux Lads, along with Marius Quebec, Late Night Linux, and then something called Ubuntu Voltage. What the heck is that?
That's us.
Is that us? Oh, right. Okay.
Yes, that's us, along with Stuart Langridge from That There Bad Voltage. And the options we had were either naming the show Ubuntu Voltage or Bad Podcast. We decided to go with Ubuntu Voltage.
Gone for the last one. And then I believe the reprise of the new show.
The new show.
Right, yeah, the new show. Right, and that's on the 12th of June.
Yes.
Tune in. I guess we'll talk more about this the next time we record, because it'll be coming up close after that, won't it?
Yeah.
Yep.
We better get on with our secret projects.
FossTalk.com is a bit scant, but that will include links to where all of this stuff is taking place in due course. So hop over there and follow their Twitter and all of that stuff.
Excellent. And that's all for the community news this week. Now it's time for some items from the wider tech world. First up, Martin, you've been on the hunt for more hardware, haven't you?
No, this one found me. I wasn't looking for this, but it found me all the same.
Okay.
I saw that there's an organisation called Framework, and they've announced that pre-orders are open for their new laptop, which on the face of it doesn't sound very interesting. But it wasn't that long ago we were having a discussion about, several sort of attempts to make these modular, customizable, right to repair, ethically sourced components and all the rest of it, things like the Fairphone. And there's been laptop initiatives similar. And this is in that vein. So it's intended to be a high-end laptop, and it should be upgradable, customizable, repairable, without compromising, they say, quality, power, or style.
So just like a ThinkPad then?
Well, somewhat. There are
with
some
a nod to style.
Yeah, well, I know. I like the ThinkPad style. I mean, that utilitarian sort of feel suits me.
Okay, that's the marketing. What's specifically different about these?
Okay, well, there are 3 editions that are just like buying a laptop. They have 3 incrementing levels of specification, and the price goes up each time, and they come pre-installed with Windows 10. That's all fine. But then they have what they call the DIY edition, and it's available as a kit of modules that you can customize and assemble yourself. So I've been through the customization process of like speccing a DIY version out for myself. And one of the options is your preferred Linux distribution. So instead of Windows, you can elect which Linux you would like to be installed on it, or you do it yourself after the fact. But then there's some usual configuration options there that you see on these configurators, such as how much RAM and how much CPU. But when it comes to things like RAM and disks and Wi-Fi, you can actually select nothing, I'll provide my own. So if you've already got RAM or SSDs or Wi-Fi modules, you don't have to buy again. So that was quite cool. And then there's some additional customization options, some of which are quite limited, like the keyboard is only available in black and only available in US layout. And the charger is only available as a US option. So you have to choose the no charger option and provide your own.
I think you're burying the lead here. There's the additional module parts, which is the thing that sets it aside from any other laptop, really, isn't there?
Yes, and this is where it gets interesting. So they have port and storage expansion. And that can be a mix of display outputs, HDMI, DisplayPort, different types of USB, different additional disk, so 256 and 1 terabyte disk options, and card readers. And they're actually opening up that port specification to third parties to sort of build out an ecosystem of ports. There are 4, and they appear to be hot pluggable, so you can change them around. So you could have it running 4 USB-A ports if that's what you needed at that particular time.
Or 4 HDMI ports. Or
Right, exactly, yeah.
Neat. And so you spec'd one up, and how much was it?
The one I spec'd up had no RAM or no SSDs, but it had loads of port expansion options and things, and I think it was about $1,500.
One thing I did like about this was that they're saying that for pre-orders, you just have to put down a $100 refundable deposit. You don't have to pay all of the money up front and get your laptop at some point in the future, which makes me a bit more confident in doing something like that.
And they have some ETAs for batch delivery, and I think they're like July and August this year.
Interesting. I have to keep an eye on that. One of these things is we can only ever tell how successful they are afterwards, once, whether there are third-party modules made and what those might be. They could be super interesting because they look like they're decent enough size. You could fit something interesting inside that little plastic module, I guess.
They're square and they're a decent size. I think you could, they can definitely get 1 terabyte of storage in them as one of the options. So, they've got options there.
Cool. Next up, Google I/O 2021 is happening right now.
What is Google I/O?
It's their big developer conference, but The reason I mention it is because I started watching it a little earlier. So, it's happening right now. So, we're not going to be able to break much news. But there was a few things in there that I thought were quite interesting. One, they've improved the way the Google Meet works with their Office products online so that it's all rather more integrated rather than you starting a meeting and then sharing your screen. It's more like you have the document on screen and people's video pops into the side of the display. So it's a bit more well integrated between the Office products and the Meet video chat products, which for those of us who use Google Meet all the time is quite interesting, might make it a little smoother to use. And the other thing that I saw that was quite interesting was they were doing a lot of marketing for a thing called Lambda, which is natural language understanding. They had a demo which showed a conversation between a person, a bit like a chat bot, between a person and this Lambda process that was taking on the persona of Pluto, the planet. And they were having a conversation where the person was talking to the planet and the planet was talking from its perspective, but it was all, AI, machine learning nonsense that was generating the responses. And it looked human-like, but from the point of view of a planet, which was a bit weird. And I thought they could have probably come up with a better use case
more
than
relatable.
That may have been deliberately abstract because it's not very good.
Perhaps.
Here I am, brain the size of a planet.
Yeah, very much so. And that was interesting. But the other thing that I thought was interesting was, as with all of these things, it's a marketing exercise. It's a big, look what we can do. And they spent a fair amount of time talking about how Google is all about secure by default, private by design, and you're in control. Yeah, I know, that made me chuckle as well. But they got someone on talking about their password managers, and they said, we never sell your personal information to anyone. We never use sensitive information to personalize ads. It's simply off limits. So there were certain bold statements, but it was clearly a reaction to the current feeling, which is you're being spied on by your email provider and you're being spied on by the people you're storing your documents in. And it was interesting that they spent in the keynote, this is the very first part of the conference, getting someone up on stage and saying, look, we're not looking at your stuff, all right? We're really not. So, yeah, I'm sure there'll be more announcements in the coming week about whatever other things they've announced, new hardware and new software. But I thought it was interesting that all that was front-loaded in the keynote of Google I/O. Next up, Mark.
Well, in other privacy news, Let's Encrypt has a new root certificate.
What does that mean?
So Let's Encrypt is the service for generating free SSL certificates automatically on your web server and other things, so that you can easily and inexpensively create secure connections for your users to your website. Now, up until now, because they were a new thing, in order for their certificates to work, they had to have a root certificate which was signed by another certificate that was already on your machine. And now that they are a bit better established, they've decided that it's time to move on from that and have their own root certificate. And they've managed to get their certificate installed on most of the major browsers and the major current versions of operating systems people are using. And I think that's really interesting, because there have been a few attempts in the past at a sort of open and free way of doing SSL certificates, and this is the hurdle they've fallen on. They've never been able to get a root certificate trusted in the major OSs, which has meant that they've basically never got anywhere. However, what this does mean is that the original certificate they had is going to expire in September. So that means that if you don't have an up-to-date operating system or browser, then you're going to start getting warnings if you go to a site that's secured with a Let's Encrypt certificate. So devices, for example, mobile phones or tablets which are running old versions of the iOS might not be getting software updates anymore. You might find that they don't work, or they give you warnings with Let's Encrypt sites. Anything which is fairly up to date, or at least you can install an up-to-date version of a browser, you should be able to work. And in fact, there is a workaround on Android devices where they've been able to get sort of I'm not sure exactly how it works, but they've got a special extension to the cross-sign certificate, which means it'll work for longer. But certainly older iOS devices, I think, are where people might see this problem.
Especially with the baked-in browser like Safari that will get no updates.
Yeah.
That is fascinating. But for anyone who runs a website, they just have to generate a new certificate.
The Let's Encrypt certificates only last for 3 months at max anyway, I think. So if you're generating a new one all the time anyway, you don't have to worry because your latest one will be signed by the new certificate.
Super stuff. Thanks very much for that. And that's all for the news for this week. And that's all for episode 11. Thank you for listening. We'll be back next week with a discussion on stuff we give to kids. I'll leave it as vague as that. And if you want to keep in contact with us while we're not broadcasting into your ear holes, then you can send us an email to show@ubuntupodcast.org, or you can follow us on Twitter, Ubuntu Podcast over on Twitter. And you can also find a back catalogue of all our podcasts in video form on YouTube. If you go to youtube.com/Ubuntu Podcast. See you next time.